This is the Nomadic Traveler Podcast. Welcome to Nomadic Traveler Podcast. I am your host, Jason, and our lovely and wonderful co-host, as always, is here, Miss Nicole.
Hey guys, what's up?
And we got, who do we have on today? Lisa Martens?
Martens.
It's plural?
Yes.
There's more than one of her?
Yes. So she's going to tell us lots of good information today.
So she's just going to kind of tell us all about her traveling in general. She works remotely. So she's going to tell us kind of about her job or working remotely and how you can basically travel 24/7 and have a job where you work from wherever you are.
Yeah, and I know we've had quite a few people come on the show to talk about how they are able to work on the road, but she kind of has a little special twist to it that I think you guys are going to enjoy.
Yes.
So, pretty cool stuff.
And I'm jealous, and I want to do it, so I'm going to take off and work remotely. And Nicole's going to make the podcast alone.
Hey, that's all right with me.
Looking to get rid of me.
No, I think she has just quite a few unique ways that she does it. And I know that from our listeners, we hear a lot about people want to know how travel can be their life.
Yeah.
So these are some unique ways that you guys might enjoy.
And she's got 3 or 4 different kind of gigs that she does all the time.
Yeah.
That she can do from wherever she is at.
Yep. So it's going to be enjoyable.
Okay. Without further ado, we bring you Miss Lisa Martens. All right. Today we have Lisa Martens. Plural? Are we saying that right? Martens?
Yes, Martin.
Okay. And she's going to talk to us about all kinds of wonderful things.
How's it going today?
It's pretty good. I'm in Montreal. I just saw this Van Gogh exhibit, so that was good. It was an immersive exhibit, so you got to stand inside the Van Gogh paintings, which was pretty trippy.
That sounds cool. How do they do that then? Is it like 3D or how does that work?
It's a room full of screens basically, and some of the screens have the entire painting. And then some of them have kind of a close-up, so you're kind of blending into the texture. And then they project part of the painting onto the floor also. So
that's cool.
Who knew Canada had such cool things?
Right?
That's awesome.
Yeah, and lots of shopping, which has been bad because in Costa Rica, the shopping is very expensive, so I don't usually shop there. And then as soon as I got to the mall in Canada, there were just all these sales and... It's not good.
Shopping is cheaper in Canada?
It's much cheaper here than in Costa Rica, yeah.
Oh, okay.
For sure. Most things in kind of the United States and apparently in Canada, the shopping is cheaper because in Costa Rica, everything is imported, so it's much more expensive. The clothes and the electronics are much more expensive.
Wow.
Do they have Walmarts there?
I haven't seen one yet, but also everything's in French, so maybe I just don't know, the French name for Walmart.
Well, I meant in Costa Rica, but yeah, I guess
Canada too. In Costa Rica, yes, they do. They have Walmart.
Okay.
But Walmart is expensive there. So Payless Shoe Source is expensive in Costa Rica. Everything you think should be cheap costs more.
Interesting.
So bring all your stuff. If you go to Latin America, the food is cheaper and the rent is cheaper, but you're going to pay more for a Mac.
Interesting. Nice. For items. Huh.
Yes.
So how long have you been in Canada now?
I came here, I was supposed to land on Friday, and I ended up not landing until Saturday because there was a huge snowstorm in Montreal. And I was woefully unprepared, so I spent 10 hours waiting in Atlanta because my flight just kept getting delayed. My layover was in Atlanta, so I'm from Costa Rica to Atlanta, and then just stayed in Atlanta. And I was getting scared because I have no winter clothes because I was in Costa Rica.
Oh.
Uh-oh.
So, yeah, I tried to do my winter shopping in the Atlanta airport and was unsuccessful. I didn't have anything.
That's awesome.
I have a jacket, but that was all I had. So I finally got into Montreal at 3 a.m.
Can you even get winter clothes in Costa Rica?
You can actually. They love winter fashion, even though our winter is their summer. So December is actually the hottest time of the year. But if you go to clubs, people are wearing winter clothes.
Interesting.
That is interesting.
Like fur?
Yeah, like if you go to San Jose in December, people will be wearing like jackets and boots and the fashion. They like the fashion, and so do I. But you don't really need like a heavy coat there ever.
Very cool.
But you like how it looks. You like the fit, the style.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about like what kind of got you into travel. How did you start traveling, and why?
So I was living in New York City. I'm from New York. I was born in New York, and I got a remote job after grad school for a dating website. So it was part support, which is like helping people log into their accounts, and like part moderating comments and that sort of thing. So like every social media website has moderators, which kind of help block bad content and nude photos and things that shouldn't be there, right? So there's a team doing that. And I was lucky in that job was totally remote. I never had to go into the office.
So wait a minute, you're not supposed to put nude photos on your... Uh-oh.
On your Instagram?
I mean, maybe on like FetLife.
I gotta take my nude photos down. Dang
it. Yeah, Jason, please.
I mean, there are platforms where it is acceptable, but for the most part,
not the major ones.
And you cannot share with us what site you were with, right?
I mean, it's not. It's like on my LinkedIn and everything. It was OkCupid, but I just can't specifically talk about, things that are kind of private to that company. But yeah, I worked for OkCupid.
Is there a dating website that's like better than the others, you think? Or are they all pretty much equal?
They're all just kind of catered to different audiences. Like I think the perception is that Tinder is like more for hookups and Match is more for relationships. And there's some sites are for people who are younger and some sites are for people who are older. But I don't think there's necessarily one that's better. I think it depends on what you're looking for. Like if you have a specific fetish, you probably don't want to go on like a Christian dating site and make a fetish profile. There's just, it depends on what you're looking for. But yeah, I don't really think one is kind of quote better. It depends on what you mean by better.
Well, so I used to be on Christian Mingle, and Christian Mingle is completely full of catfish. And do you know?
So yeah, I do. That's where the moderation team would come in. So you would have to report those, and then they would hopefully take them down.
Yeah, but it's just like everybody. It's like the whole thing is like catfish. It's like unbelievable. There's just all these people trying to get money from you. They think, Christians, we're going to go prey on them.
Oh, that's smart.
That's very sad. I'm sorry to hear that.
So it was very disappointing. I was like, this is a complete waste of time. So I did it for like 30 days. And I mean, it's just so overrun with it that it's basically completely worthless.
Yeah, when there's too much scamming, it makes a platform very difficult for real people.
Well, I was kind of surprised they don't do something with it because I was like, I don't know how they make any money. How would they have anybody that stays on here long term that wants to just pay to talk to catfish?
I don't really know. It's always in the best interest of a website to like take out the catfishing.
Yeah.
Another issue though is like a lot of times people, for everything that gets reported, there's probably a lot of stuff that doesn't get reported. So if also people are just getting frustrated and giving up and not reporting it, then it kind of never, you know what I mean, gets like resolved in that way. So there's a lot. It's very difficult to have a social media website. There's a lot of different, moving parts.
Yeah.
I bet it's a bit of a pain in the butt.
So
it is an ongoing process.
Do you have to have like a specific degree for that, or can anyone do that that's interested?
No, so actually, yeah, that was kind of the interesting thing. I have a philosophy degree, so when I graduated, I really didn't know what I was going to do. And yeah, like there's not really, when you open the newspaper, it doesn't say philosophers, needed. It doesn't really happen. So I kind of stumbled upon this like tech world by accident. I first started at Meetup, doing very similar things, support. And that was in office, though. It wasn't remote. But more and more people are hiring remotely. So I think definitely if you're maybe not a programmer or you're not super technical, doing support is one way to have a remote job where you can travel and not necessarily have to learn how to code, because I think that's the perception of working in tech, that you have to learn how to do some coding. It's not necessarily true. So for the writers and philosophers out there, you can look for like remote support work, and there's definitely more and more of that out there.
Well, I know that's what I thought. I thought if you don't know how to code, you can never have a job in tech.
That is not true. But I left a little over a year ago to do writing, because I'm a writer. So I was kind of, going back and forth with my blog when I was still working. And then finally I just decided to take the leap and dive into the universe, or let the universe catch me, or whatever you want to call it.
So you still have your blog?
Yeah, it's on Medium. So if you go to medium.com/ampersand, so the @ symbol, and then just my name, Lisa Martens.
Okay.
Very cool.
With an E, Martens.
What's your blog about? Travel or what?
I'm a top writer in fiction, mental health, and humor. So sometimes I write about traveling. Most recently, I wrote this post about how everywhere I go, because I'm Latina, so when people look at me, they have this certain perception. And when I travel, a lot of people assume I work in the hotel. So people like hand me their plates, their dirty towels, their sheets. And so, I write about things like that. I try to put a humor spin on it, but also kind of be drawing some attention to that fact. Like, you shouldn't just assume
right
Latinas in a given space will clean your clothes.
That is super rude. I am so sorry.
Well, and I bet a lot of people out there that experience that same thing are probably excited to hear that, they're not alone.
Yeah,
I definitely receive comments from people who've had similar experiences. And that always feels good to me, to know that, okay, I'm not the only one. Because it's also kind of frustrating when I'm thinking, is this all in my head? Or is this happening to anyone else? You start to think maybe I'm the crazy one.
Right.
So it's nice to have that in my blog, where people who travel are like, this happened to me too. Or I'm always searched at the airport, and I think it's because I look a certain way. And it's like, yes, that's, you're not alone. You're not crazy.
Right. For sure.
I actually always get searched at the airport too, so don't feel too bad. I mean, like, I would say like 3 out of 5 times or something I'm searched. I'm like, what the hell's going on, man?
Because you just
They think
shady.
I look like a drug trafficker or something.
When I entered Atlanta, actually, I got the least amount of questions ever. And I was almost like, please ask me more things. Like he just like waved me on, and he was like, "Are you coming from Costa Rica?" And I didn't even say yes, and he just kept waving me on.
Oh, wow.
So Atlanta's the place where I got searched the heaviest. So I went through.
Funny.
So I flew down from Indiana down to Atlanta, and I visited a friend, and I was flying back. And on the way back, I couldn't find my boarding ticket. So I went up, and they were like, "Do you have your ticket?" And I was like, "No." And they were like, "Well," I was like, "Well, let me go see if I can find it in my bag." And I went and searched around my bag, and it was gone for probably 15 minutes or something. And I came back, I was like, "I can't find it," And she's like, "Oh, okay, where you been?"
They were like,
so,
this man.
So then she prints out the ticket, gives it to me, and I get up, and I'm in line to go through security, and the lady's like, "Do you see this?" And it had 4 S's on it. She's like, "Do you know what this means?" And I was like, "No." She goes, "This means search." So she's like, "You're going to have to get in a different line." And I was like, "Okay." So I went and got in a different line, and then I like stood there for a while, and they finally took me into like this like kind of cubicle room. And then they took my suitcase, and some guy went through there and literally just like tossed everything all over the place in like a very haphazard manner. And I was like, okay, you're fine. And I was like, are you going to put this shit back? I mean, yeah, that was it.
No,
So,
they don't. They don't put it back. They always just destroy
no, it was like super rude. I was
your
like, are you
packing.
serious?
Yeah.
This is what you're going to do?
Wow.
And then I'm like, crap, now I got to go make it to my flight. So I put all my shit back together and try to rush to my flight. I was like, well, that was a wonderful experience.
Yeah.
I think
Wow.
the kind of I've had them do the puffing thing on my eyes and like wipe down my hands and then put it into a computer, and I still don't even know what that means.
The puffing thing on the eyes. I don't know about that. What is that?
That's like an eye
I don't
exam.
even know what it is, but like it's only happened to me a couple of times. I feel like both times were in JFK, where they have this thing that just like puffs air onto your face. It's not like a liquid or anything. It's just they puff air onto your face. I think it's like if you have some kind of powder, like gunpowder or drugs or something on you, it changes color.
Interesting.
I'm not
I've
sure,
never heard of that one.
Very
But I've had the puff. I just call it the puff
The
thing
puff
because I
puff.
don't know what
Love
it's
it.
really called.
I had the
It's
puff puff, you know.
It just sounds so much kinder than like getting something sprayed in your face.
Evasive eye exam.
Yeah. And there was one time I wasn't in the States. I was in Europe somewhere, but they made me. So I had a water bottle, and I had filled it up in security. I'd already been through security, but then when we got on the plane, they made me drink the water, even though I had filled the bottle up inside. And they actually looked at where the water was, and I took a sip, and they were like, no, you have to drink more because it didn't go down enough, like in a visible way.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I was like, well, what if this, like, I don't know, like, what if this was like vodka or something?
They're
Yeah.
like, please drink it.
Chug, chug, chug.
Chug it. But yeah, I've been made to like drink things.
I wonder if they think if it's like some kind of explosive or something, but so then they're just going to make you sick, and then you're going to get sick on the plane. I mean, I don't know. It's not much better.
Yeah, but it was just water because, you know.
All these goofy things with flying now. Remember when you could fly back in the day? It was just like a nice, pleasant experience.
I remember like the first time I flew to Costa Rica, I think my dad had like a machete in his carry-on or something. It was totally fine.
Wow, that's awesome.
And you could smoke. I remember distinctly the first time I flew, you could still smoke on a plane.
Yep, I remember that too.
Which is just a bad idea, though. I'm really glad they did away with that.
Yeah, thank God they did away with the smoking. I do remember that.
Yeah, just like, I'm in this flying cylinder. What could make this better? Lighting something on fire.
I had a buddy that used to smoke on planes, and his way of doing it was he would go to the bathroom, and apparently if you flush the toilet, it creates like a suction. Mm-hmm. So if you like puff it real quick and blow it down, it goes like it sucks it out of there, and that's how you can get away with like smoking and not setting off the alarm, I guess.
Interesting.
So I was
that sounds illegal.
So I was like, you could quit smoking. He's like, screw it.
Let's say that sounds like desperation.
So you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I know. So like I know you said the remote job with the dating apps and things like that. What are some of the other ways that you're able to kind of travel full time?
Well, now I'm a copywriter, so I write for marketing agencies, and they assign me a task. So, translate this, or, we need a Facebook post for this account, and you do some research on their brand, and you kind of figure out what their voice is, and then make posts based on that. So copywriting is definitely another way to go. I've met people who teach online. I know VipKid is very popular for that. I don't teach online. I kind of tried it, and I wasn't super into it because I kind of like making my own schedule. I don't really like being on call in that way.
And so VipKid is where you teach kids English online?
Yes. I think they're based out of China.
All right, what else you got?
Well, I don't really make money but doing this, not like a sustainable income, but I also teach yoga and belly dancing. So I've been belly dancing for about 4 years, and I took my yoga teacher training about 2 years ago.
So tell us about the belly dancing. How does that work?
Yeah, so well, I started in New York because I was working for a studio called Belly Queen. So I was an assistant there and taking classes, and kind of part of how I decide on where to go is, if there's a dancer that I really like or want to study with, and not just belly dance. Like when I went to India, that was traditional Indian dance that I was learning. So, I've traveled to Italy for dance classes, to India. I took belly dance classes in Turkey, which was amazing.
Have you done like
So,
Hawaiian dance?
no, I have not. I've done classical Indian dance. I've done belly dancing, traditional belly dancing, and I've also done fusion. So Rachel Bryce has this workshop in Costa Rica, and I'm in Costa Rica all the time anyway. So I went to that one as well, and that's more of a fusion. It's not strictly belly dance. It's kind of a mixture, but dance has definitely been a big influence in deciding kind of where I go. And I do teach like beginner classes in some studios along with yoga. So it's been really fun. I had this when I was in Nicaragua teaching belly dance. I had this big group of retired expats. So they were American and Canadian women.
Nice.
Who were, retired, and they just really wanted to move their hips and
So are you usually able to get everybody, loose enough in the hips to be able to kind of do it, or is it easier for others?
I yeah, it definitely varies from person to person. One thing that I've found is that it's always easier for someone to go in one direction than another. So if someone can move their hips counterclockwise very easily, they'll get confused going the other way.
Like a right or left-handed kind of thing.
Yeah, like I think people just get used to moving their hips a certain way, and then it's kind of hard to get them to do the opposite. So like with undulations, which is I guess you would call it like a belly roll. If someone can do the belly roll forward, getting them to do it in reverse is a little harder.
So like if they can do it top to bottom, they can't do it bottom to top?
Not that they can't do it, but you definitely see them start to think.
Yeah.
Like they'll do it one way and they're like not really thinking, and then their thinking face comes on. So
That's funny.
Very cool. That's an awesome way to make money on the road. I never would have thought of.
Yeah, it's fun. It's for me it's a really good way to meet people.
Yeah.
Because I work on the laptop, I write, and it can be very isolating if you're just on the computer all the time. So definitely teaching some yoga classes, teaching some belly dance classes is a good way to, interact with others.
So how do you like find clients for this? Do you use like Meetup, or how does something like that work?
So I usually I contact the studio first, and they usually help with they put it on their Instagram or their social media, or they just do word of mouth. They're like, oh, we're going to have someone here for the next month or two giving out classes in belly dance. Sometimes I combine the yoga and the belly dance to kind of ease people into it.
Interesting.
Because they sometimes feel a little bit too intimidated by straight up taking a beginner belly dance class, especially if they're not used to taking a dance class. They feel like, oh no, that's too extreme, I guess. So if I combine it with the yoga, it kind of gets them to dance a little bit, but they get to be like, it's a yoga class, it's not a dance class.
Nice.
That is awesome.
And can you
just turn into a dance class.
Can you do okay financially off of that? Does that help you out when you travel, or is it more just kind of for fun?
It's more for fun. It's good, like spending money. I'm sure if I kind of focused more on it, I might be able to generate more income from it. But I prefer writing. I definitely know people who just kind of teach yoga, but they're teaching like 3 or 4 classes a day. So
yeah.
So if you
I
pick
only
up
want to teach 1 or 2 classes a week, that's definitely not enough.
So if you pick up a spot, you just do like 1?
I usually do like 2 classes a week.
Okay.
Yeah, it seems more like schedule restrictive than moderating online or blogging or things like that,
Yeah.
that you can kind of do more on your own time. Seems like.
Yeah, I'm very anti-schedule restrictive.
Yeah.
It is definitely my biggest problem. I don't like anyone telling me when to do something.
Yeah.
As
Me
soon as
too.
I get less like freedom in that way, I'm like, I gotta get out of here. That's it. The jig is up.
So, are you on the road like all the
24/7?
time, or are you stationed anywhere? Like, where's your home base if you have one?
Oh, that's kind of a hard question. Up until recently, my home base was definitely Costa Rica, and I have family there, so I know I can kind of always go to Costa Rica in a pinch. You know, during the zombie apocalypse, I'm going to Costa Rica. So if that's what you mean by home base, then I would say probably
There.
Costa Rica. Like, if shit hit the fan, where would I go? Definitely Costa Rica.
Okay.
Do
But
you
you're-
have, well, I was going to say, do you have citizenship anywhere?
In the United States.
US,
I'm a
okay.
US citizen.
Okay.
Yeah, so also my other home is always New York. So it's just a slightly more expensive home, you know? But I have an apartment there, and I'm going back there on Saturday.
Oh, so you do have an apartment in the U.S. Okay, I didn't know that.
Well, I don't right now. It will be ready on Saturday.
Oh, okay.
Oh, nice. So, do you just like lease it per like month or 6 months?
No, I share it with a friend. So he's also nomadic, and when he's not there, that's why I can't go there now. He's still there.
Oh.
Nice.
So we kind of share. We like trade off on the room, which has been really, really awesome.
So do you only pay when you're there? Or do you split the rent all the time, or how does that work?
No, I only pay when I'm there.
Interesting.
Wow.
Mhm.
And that works out pretty well?
genius.
Yeah, it works out pretty. It's not like my permanent residence, but it's good to not have to do the whole thing with the lease or pay the first month's rent and the deposit and everything that's required when you actually get an apartment in New York. It's nice to have someone that you're just kind of sharing, and if it's possible for people to do that, I highly recommend it. Just finding other nomads and being like, we'll split this place, you know,
Yeah.
like a non-sketchy timeshare.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a
'cause
cool idea.
I'm thinking, so then when like you go back, you share like furniture, I'm guessing, and like household things together as well. So you're not having to like carry those or store those somewhere. You're kind of-
Right, like I'm not gonna have to buy furniture. You know, that's a huge thing. I don't have to get a bed and put it together, and
Yes. So I'm thinking,
he did all those things. Like, you do that. Very good. You put the furniture together.
How long have you guys been doing this?
Well, before I was doing it with him, I was doing it with his roommate. So I've been kind of sharing the same apartment for about 2 years.
that is such a good idea. I love that.
So is it actually in your name, or is it in their name, or do you guys split it?
No,
or-
it's in their name.
Nice.
It's in their name.
Hmm.
I'm the irresponsible one in that equation.
I don't know. I almost feel like that's the more responsible one because you know your heart, and your heart is to travel.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't want to put your name down, you know, on something stationary.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't want to get wrapped up in like a lease, and also because I quit my job and I'm just kind of now getting kind of stable footing. I think it would be hard for me to get a lease because my proof of income is a little
Sure.
Yeah.
weird at the moment.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
In a couple of months, I think it'll be fine because now my copywriting, it's steady enough that it's like, see, I have an income. But when you're just like, my income is from my blog, you know, the people who give out the leases are like, yeah, that's
Like,
We're going to pursue other prospects.
yeah, no, we're not gonna, you know, have our hopes hanging on your blog. Please come back when you have a pay stub.
right?
So how long are you going to stay there this time around?
About 2 months. I'm saving for a trip to Cairo because I want to take belly dance classes in Egypt.
Nice.
Oh, that will be amazing.
So I'm a baby dancer, just trying to follow my dance mommies wherever they go.
That's
Very
cool.
cool. Now, you mentioned you're in a hostel right now. How often do you stay in hostels? And Do you like them? Do you recommend them for people? What do you think about them?
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I stay in hostels fairly regularly, but sometimes I'll spring for like a private room. It depends on the cost and it depends on how crowded the hostel is. This hostel right now is not very crowded because apparently coming during a snowstorm is not very popular. So I
Nice.
lucked out in the first 2 days. I actually had the whole room to myself. So that's great. Now I have a few people staying with me, but they're super chill, and I've been really lucky in hostels. But for the privacy, it's obviously not great. I do recommend it, but always have flip-flops with you.
Don't walk on that floor, right?
The shower, it's the shower,
Oh,
dude.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Sorry for calling you dude, but yeah, no, for those shared surfaces,
Oh, yeah.
you just really need to have those kind of shoes that you can just take off and
And you
put back
mentioned
on.
you worked in a hostel, right?
I also worked in a hostel. That was actually really good. If you have like an online job and you can work like the front desk of a hostel, because if you work in the hostel as like an exchange, which those are pretty popular, you're getting the room and board, and sometimes they even give you a meal. I got food with mine. I was at room. It's called Room to Board. It's in Jaco, Costa Rica. So if you look, they always have like volunteer opportunities available there. And it was a really chill time. So I was working online, but I was also working in this hostel. So I wasn't paying any rent. I wasn't paying for food, and I was just getting paid,
Oh, wow.
So I was definitely, I like had it figured out then. That was really good. And then I messed it up and quit my job.
What made you want to leave?
I just it was a quarter life crisis, I think. I was turning 30 and I was just like, I have to throw a bowling ball into my life right now. I definitely felt like I have to do my own thing. I have to pursue writing. I have to do these things that are important to me. I didn't have a plan. It was very bad. I do not advise doing what I did, which is just like quitting my job, going to yoga teacher training, and just being like, something will work. But something did work, so you never know. Sometimes you do something that's quote crazy and it ends up working out okay.
Mm-hmm.
Lisa's going to live a long time. She's got a quarter life crisis at 30. She's going to be 120.
Quarter life crisis. Quarter life crisis is the term for when people have like that crisis in their like mid-20s to early 30s.
Yeah.
There's an actual name for it.
I think I've had that a few times.
Yeah, maybe I'm not having a crisis. It's just like my constant state of being.
I'm thinking like, man, that's me right now.
Yeah, maybe we can't blame like time.
Yeah.
It's kind of a nomadic lifestyle a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to be a little bit crazy.
Right?
To be a nomad, yeah. But I also like having kind of like a steady job, and I realized that pretty early on. Like I didn't like the pressure of, I have to create things for my blog that people will like, or else I die.
Yeah.
So I really like having the job with like the stable income, but not full time. Like I'm only doing marketing work part time, and that's been perfect for me. It's like the perfect balance of having to be creative, but also having like consistent paycheck.
Yeah. For sure. I definitely think that that'd be good, especially as far as like insurance and things like that. Has that worked out better for you to have something a little more stable?
Yeah, for sure. Like when you have a stable income, you can plan better. You can start contributing to your retirement account and all that happy boring stuff. But you're like, oh, fine.
Yes. And you're able to get that from a part-time position?
I mean, I started doing it again. I was just kind of like, I have to start doing this again, because when I first quit my job and then I was just blogging, I wasn't doing anything related to saving at all, and it was terrible. And I definitely make that like a higher priority now. Maybe that's part of my quarter life crisis.
I don't even know that it's a crisis. I think it's like
An
maybe
adjustment.
you're just chasing your happy, you know.
Yeah. Chasing your
Yeah,
happy. I like that.
yeah. Accepting the fact that one day I will get old.
Yeah.
It's coming for all of us.
I think
It's
it's speeding
coming.
up.
What?
People got older slower when I was younger. So it's speeding up.
Oh no, it's like how the universe is like constantly expanding and we're all just like stretching into like a
Yeah,
black hole somewhere.
for sure. Hey, I wanted to ask you, did you fall for the broom trick yesterday?
Oh, yeah. Did you
I
see
don't
that?
know. I don't know what that is. What is happening?
So everybody on Facebook is standing brooms up, and they're saying that there's something with NASA, and the Earth is in perfect balance or something, and you can balance a broom on its end.
Yeah. So
So you stand it up on the bristles, and it stands straight up in the middle of the floor with no support.
That's just like the movie Break-In.
Oh.
I don't think I've seen that.
Ozone. It is an old dance movie where one of the dancers has a broom and he starts dancing with it. It's a ridiculous scene, but he makes it stand perfectly on his foot without support. Quote, without support. You can see that there's like a fishing string.
Interesting.
Yeah, he danced with the broom. But
Yeah.
no, I didn't see that. So
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
It's all over Facebook, so I stood one up in my kitchen last night and came down this morning, and sure enough, it's still standing there. I was like, oh, yeah, I did that last night. I forgot.
You fell for it.
Yeah. It's funny.
So, and then there's been people that are like posting pictures of like the grocery store and like the aisle where all the brooms are. There'll be like 15 brooms all standing up in the middle of the aisle. They're like, so this is what the grocery store looks like today.
Oh man, if I worked in that grocery store, I'd be so annoyed.
That's what I was thinking of it. They're like, oh my God, I can't wait for this to go away.
Right.
Hope this doesn't last as long as the ice bucket challenge.
Right?
Or like eating Tide Pods or anything.
Oh my
I
gosh,
forgot
yeah.
about that. Huh.
That's stupid.
Yeah, that was. We survived
Yeah,
that.
that was definitely a.
We survived that.
As-
Did you eat some?
No, I'm talking as a race, as like a
Oh.
human race. We survived that.
Because I never participated in that.
Yeah, don't eat soap. Like that's.
Bad idea.
Yes, for sure. So what would you say is like the number one thing that you think you've kind of learned from this journey that you feel like our listeners should know, because we have a lot of listeners who are really on the edge of like they want to travel or they want to make it more of a lifestyle, but they're really nervous, or maybe they're not a belly dancer, or whatever the thing is that they feel like they can't accomplish. What do you think that they should know, that you might know that might help them out?
You can become a belly dancer. No.
I will teach you.
No, I think, well, for sure, number one, money condoms, or what I call money condoms, are very important. So I got ripped off so many times my first year traveling where someone would swipe my debit card. Not swipe as in physically take it, but swipe like the number, from the bank or from a transaction, and then just gut my debit card,
Wow.
just take everything. So I started, first of all, getting more cards and getting an emergency credit card. Definitely have an emergency credit card. You don't know how many times I've been traveling and I run into people who are like, I just have my one debit card, and then either their bank cancels their card or their card gets stolen, and then they have money in their account and they can't access it. And it's the worst. So having definitely backup cards, don't just travel with one debit card. You will definitely run into problems.
That would freak me out, only having one access.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but I've met a lot of, it's usually younger people who are traveling like for the first time, and like they're out of college and they're like, I don't want a credit card because credit card debt is bad. And then their debit card gets completely gutted and it's like, well, I didn't have a savings account and that was all my money. And it's like, no.
Yes.
Let me share something with you. You don't have to use that credit card. It can just be there.
For an emergency is
Right?
good. And then, yeah, having either a savings account or just another account that the debit card doesn't take from, and not having that much money on the debit card. I use Ally Bank, and you can actually turn your debit card on and off from your phone.
I've seen that in the commercial.
Yeah, and I literally turn the card on when I'm using it, and I turn it off. And like anytime someone tried to spend $1,000 on Nike.com, and that shit just did not go through. I got the notification. I was like, ha, good luck with that.
Wow.
But it's just, that's what money condoms, So, I mean, it's so much better to get that notification and laugh than to get that notification and be like, I am so screwed,
Right.
I didn't know what you meant by money condoms. I was like, what does she mean by that?
Yeah.
But I get it now.
You gotta protect your money, man. Money condoms.
Well, in some accounts, they will, refund you eventually.
Eventually, but that doesn't help
yeah.
you when you're stuck in Latin America
Sure.
somewhere.
Yeah.
That can take months. It's always better to block the money from being taken out than to try to get it back from your bank.
For sure. Do the
That's
work
a
ahead
really
of time.
good tip.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
Is Ally
condoms,
the only one that money condom? Is Ally the only one that does that? Do you know?
That's the only one I found. That's the one I really like. So I'm always telling people to get Ally. It's like my favorite bank ever. But yeah, definitely that they let you control so much. Also, spending limit from your phone. So I usually keep it very low. I keep my debit card at like no more than $50. So if I want to make a bigger purchase, then I'll raise the limit temporarily and then put it right back down. I never ever have it so that anyone can take more than $50 from me.
Nice.
Man, I like that. That gives you a lot of control.
Yeah.
That is smart.
So into that, because I've met so many people who are like, I have money, but I can't access it, and they took all my stuff, and now I have to go to the embassy, and I have to go to like El Gallo for the pharmacy for Western Union, and I have no ID, and it's not fun.
Yeah.
And nothing ruins your trip like having to go down to an embassy.
That's taking all your fun time away.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, trying to figure out the bus to the embassy when you have no way of withdrawing more money.
Right. And then hoping you got the money for the bus.
Exactly, and you got to get the money for the bus. But yeah, I would say that was definitely the biggest thing, and it's the thing that I tell people when I see them traveling too, like protect your money. Also, follow the laws. I know this is gonna sound crazy, but I meet so many people who go to other countries and then they overstay their visa. They stay too long, or they're doing something illegal. So definitely just follow the rules. Like if you're only supposed to be in a country 90 days, leave after 90 days and renew your visas. Don't risk it, because I have seen like Americans can get deported from other countries, and there's this there's this idea that the United States can deport people, but if you go to Latin America, you can't get deported. You can get deported from Costa Rica.
You can and you
will.
So it's not just one way. That's fascinating.
No, it's not. Other countries have laws.
Maybe we should write somebody about that.
I don't like that.
But it's really crazy how many times I've heard of people getting deported from Latin America, from other countries, and just it's for something so simple that it's usually that's what the problem is. They've overstayed their visa by a significant amount.
So if it's only a little bit, do they hassle you as much, or will they give you like a second chance, or?
In Costa Rica, I know it's a fine. So if you just spend a few days over, you might have to pay a fine. They might, if you're like a retired person, they might like just let you go. It kind of seems like whether or not you're a jerk.
Well, that makes sense. That's kind of anything in life, right?
Right. So, if you're just like this retired person who's like, oh no, I, forgot, like they'll probably let you go, but there might be like a fine. But if you overstay your visa by like a ridiculous amount, or you do it repeatedly, you're more likely to get in trouble.
Look at that. Following rules is a tip.
Following rules pays off.
Pays off. Imagine
Following rules helps ensure you'll be able to return to that country.
That is awesome. Very cool.
I'm trying to think of what else. Yeah, flip-flops in hostels for sure. Oh, and having like an opaque sheet if you go to a hostel, so you can like make a little tent for your bed.
Oh.
Get some privacy.
You make your little tent, huh?
That's a good idea.
Yeah, get like a sheet that people can't see through, so you have at least a little bit of space in there that's yours.
So like a teepee?
No, it's more like you just tie it to the bed, and then you kind of like stretch it across if you're in the bottom bunk, and then that gives you a little. It's not really a tent because it's a rectangle.
So you prefer the bottom bunk then?
For sure, the bottom bunk. You can do it with the top if they have like exposed pipes in the ceiling. Just make sure that none of them are too hot.
Oh, okay.
You know, like if they just have some pipes in the ceiling, then you can tie it around there. Give yourself a little bit of an area. But yeah, don't do it if it's like a hot water thing.
That's a good
not
tip,
a good
though.
idea.
I like that.
You don't want to burn down the hostel.
You do not want to burn yourself or others, correct?
Pro tip.
Pro tip. And then for like packing, I always put the thing that I'm gonna need first on top.
So simple, yet so important.
Genius. Genius. Love it. So you also mentioned, like, because you have this travel lifestyle, you were able to, like, you know, go and visit people, family more often, help out. How would you say that has went for you, and what did you get out of that?
Oh, well, for about in total about 6 months. So I have a relative who was diagnosed with leukemia last year. And it was a very acute form of leukemia. So it was just kind of like she needed a bone marrow transplant. Everything happened like super fast. It all happened from diagnosis to when she was able to go home. It was like less than 6 months. It was very quick. But she's better now. So, you know, spoiler alert before I go into it, she's fine.
Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert, she lived.
Spoiler alert, she's okay. No, but I don't want to make it like I'm telling this story and you guys don't know how she is. So she's doing great. She's
Good.
back with her family.
Good.
Spoiler alert, she's fine. So it was really good because, you know, a lot of my other relatives have children. I don't have children, or they're, you know, my grandparents are not really in a position to take care of someone, and she needed a full-time caregiver for 2 months. And because I work online, I was able to go do that, and I was living at Johns Hopkins with her for 2 months, and it was definitely rewarding, and it definitely just kind of further solidified for me that I always want to be remote.
Life is
You
short.
know, like, right, life is short, but also it's so obnoxious when you can't do something you really need to do because of your job, like when someone's sick, or, you know, I don't know if I'm gonna have kids. If so, I'm sorry in advance, children. But you know, it's really important to just be able to move and to be where you want to be, not just for fun or for dancing, but yeah, for like those times where something serious happens, and it can be hard to take off work, and then you're stressed about money. So I just was, it really solidified, like, I really like being able to be remote, not just for fun, but for my life. This is important to me. So it was really good to be able to, you know, make my own schedule, because my schedule just went around hers. When she was in the hospital in treatment, I was able to work. And then the rest of the time I spent with her. So it was super helpful. And yeah, no, I think this is definitely the life I want. I want to be able to work from my laptop and not put on pants.
Love it.
Goals.
I'm a big fan of that.
I will say, like, being with family is one of my main goals with travel too, is like even just being able to like take your kid to school and pick them up is like such a blessing as a parent, from the parent's point of view.
Yeah.
And so I do think that freedom is something that, like, I think a lot of people out there are searching for, you know, because a lot of jobs, you get up early, rush the kids to school or to the bus stop, then you're off to work, you get home. I saw a commercial the other day that said, on average, you spend 37 minutes of quality time with your family a day. 37 minutes.
That's pretty weak, isn't it?
That is
Yeah,
crazy.
that's very heartbreaking.
I'm like, what in the world where are our priorities? It's insane. But
Oh,
it's,
that brings me to something else though, because when I first started working remotely, I worked remotely for Meetup a little bit, but it wasn't full time. So I was in office most of the time, and then sometimes like I would work from home. Don't try to babysit while working.
oh.
That doesn't work?
It does not work. And I think a lot of people kind of like they try that. They're thinking, oh, I can watch the kids and work. You can't. You have to do one or the other. So
No.
focusing and time management are really important.
Kids are very distracting.
Kids are very
Yes.
distracting, especially when you're working a kind of job where you don't know what's going to come up on your screen.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you're just like, go over there. Go play with that.
Is that Barney I hear?
Please, God, let it be Barney. Oh, that was another thing too. When I was doing support for both companies, if I sat in a coffee shop, I would have to make sure my laptop was like facing the wall and not other people.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Did you get a lot of DPs?
Yeah.
It's just you just never know, and then it'll always happen at the worst time. Like it'll always happen when like a priest and a nun
Right.
are praying behind you, and it always happens at the worst time. You can have a whole day where it's just people wanting their passwords reset, and then like as soon as your grandma comes in the room, like
Right. Right.
That sounds like a setup for a joke. A priest and a nun are praying behind you, and
The DP pulls up on
a
your
DP
computer.
pops up.
Oh God, yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, it's important to keep your work time. I guess that's the other tip too. Like if you get a remote job, do a really good job at it. Like you kind of have to do remote work better than if you were in the office because
Yeah.
you sort of have to prove you're doing it.
Yep.
Mhm.
I've
That
had a lot
makes
of people
sense.
tell me that actually. They say you need to really make sure you go above and beyond so you can keep the privilege of being able to be remotely working.
Exactly. Because if they get any idea that you're like not pulling your weight, then they're like, well, this remote thing isn't working.
Yep.
So, definitely be on point. Don't give them a reason to be like, well, this isn't, your numbers are bad or your, productivity is low, or definitely give it your best shot and really prioritize it. Don't go on Facebook or be text, really, you got to focus and do the thing.
I read a book about that. And the book was saying, they were like, don't sandbag, but if you were trying to transition into remote working, hold back a little bit and reserve. So then when you start doing your remote work, you really want to crank it up like 20%. So they're like, wow, this is really working. We're getting more productivity, so they can really see the benefit of it.
Yeah.
Right. You're more productive when you're remote. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think you have to have that structured personality to yourself, whether that be, you want to work all night or you want to work during the day or like whatever your structure is, you have to have your structure and own it in order to be able to do something like that.
Yeah, a routine is very helpful. It is. I like making my own schedule, but honestly, when I do, I'm usually picking a routine. And it does work. And then, sometimes if I need to change something in my schedule, I'll do it. But I do like having a routine because it does make you more productive.
So do you prefer working a day or working at night, or what's your schedule like?
I used to work in the morning at like 5 a.m.
Wow.
Yeah, because that's when I get my best work done is when I first wake up. My brain just sort of declines after that. But now since I'm part-time, what I do is I work in the afternoon because I want my best stuff to be my creative stuff. So I do work for my blog or for my books in the morning when I'm like the most kind of creative. And then I work in the afternoon.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
Working for yourself the best.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, when I learned that, I was like, hey, I work better in the morning. And then when I was going to take on this job, I was like, maybe I won't work in the morning. Yeah, I'll keep that for me.
I'm similar. I cannot. By the time about 2, 3 o'clock hits, I'm dead. But give me like 7, 8
I don't
a.m.
work past 3. I can't work past 3. My brain is just too. Just
Yeah, if they looked at productivity past 3, I bet a lot of people's minds would be blown. Get that call.
Yeah, I don't know how some people are night owls. I don't know how they think.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, see, I'm the exact opposite. See, I start off slow, and then, like, I feel like I gain steam as the day goes. So I feel like I'm sharper later on in the day.
That's a blessing.
So, I don't know. I think it's kind of a curse because it's kind of the opposite of everybody else.
Yeah.
So it's the opposite of society and the way society works. Most people are like you guys, where you're sharper in the morning.
I don't know if that's true. I mean, at least when I stay in hostels, I feel like I'm the like annoying one who's always awake first.
Yeah, the one that's up.
Hey, let's go, guys. What are we
Yeah.
doing today? And they're just like, shut up. Stop talking.
Well, that's also a hostile environment, so you got to take that with a grain of salt.
That was so punny.
That is true.
Hostile.
Oh, and then, yeah, the other thing, too, is if you're nomadic, you need to find other digital nomads because you can't party with everyone who's on vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't do it, or you're not going to be productive, and you're not going to save any of your money. Like when people are on vacation, you are not on vacation. Like if you're a digital nomad, that is your working. You know what I mean? That is your life, and so you can't be eating out and partying. Like sometimes you're just going to eat like tuna and pasta. You know?
Yeah.
You're right. 100%.
So yeah, you can't get caught up in like vacation mode. Because then, yeah, you're gonna lose that job pretty fast.
Yeah.
Ooh, that makes sense.
I used to live down in Florida, and that was like the problem with like all the employees down there. So they always liked people that were like had just moved down there freshly from like the Midwest or something because they still had like regular work ethic. So like all the businesses were all trying to snap you up when you first moved there because they're like after you've been there for too long, you're like you get vacation brain or whatever you want to call it.
Oh,
and everybody wants to be on vacation all the time, and they can't separate it out.
Your like resolve just kind of turns into mush.
Yep.
yeah. Hey, that happens to me sometimes on a sunny day.
It's sunny out.
I looked out the window today and I was like, oh, the sky is blue.
Yeah, it was horrible today because it was sunny out and it looked really nice, and you go outside and it's freezing. I'm like, Arr.
Yeah.
Oh man, I was in a hostel once that had those blinds that completely block out the sun. And it messed me up. I never knew what damn day it was.
Sounds like a casino.
Yeah, it was. And a friend was like, "Are you a bird? Like, are you really like unable to function?"
You a bird?
That's a good one.
Because you know when you put a bird in a cage and you put the thing over it, they just like fall right to sleep.
That is amazing.
That's
Very
funny.
cool.
Are you a bird?
Are you a bird? Like, I might be.
Okay, so we got a couple of segments I want to run by you and see what you think about them. Our first one is Don't Do That. And the Don't Do That segment is a travel mistake that you have made somewhere before that you can share with our listeners so they don't make the same mistake when they're out traveling.
Oh, yeah. Joke with customs about bringing in contraband.
That sounds like a bad idea.
It was a bad idea. They held me for a really long time.
So they didn't think your joke was funny, huh?
They didn't think my joke about bringing in Cuban cigars was funny, no.
Oh.
I did. My dad did.
Had you been to Cuba?
No, but you can, get some of that stuff in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
And so I made a joke that I had a Cuban cigar box. I liked the box.
Yeah.
And I joked that it was full of Cuban cigars.
And even after they opened it, that wasn't good enough?
They went through like all of my things.
Yeah.
Because, the box just had jewelry in it. I just used it as a jewelry box. But they didn't appreciate my joke. And then I got a lecture on how like it wasn't funny and I had wasted their time. And I was like, you wasted your time.
It's kind of like saying bomb on a plane. They don't like that either. That's not taken lightly either.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I know. It was an immature thing to do, but I would say don't do that.
It's a good one. I like that.
We can all laugh about it now, so.
Exactly.
Thank
Let
you.
me go.
All right. Our last segment is Today's Hidden Gem. And Today's Hidden Gem is a place that you have been that's off the beaten path that other people can go check out when they are in the area where this hidden gem is.
Oh, I think I'm going to revert to my home city of New York, because I think this is a tip I give people when they go to New York that is really useful. So if you want a really good view of the skyline, don't pay like however much it is to go to the top of the Rock or to go to the top of the Empire State Building. It's a huge waste of your money. And a really beautiful view is if you take the Roosevelt Island Air Tram.
Okay.
So take that like at sunset is a good time. And it's the same cost as like a MetroCard swipe, so it's only $2.75. And you get a really beautiful view of the city, and it's the cheapest way I know of to get a view of the city from the sky.
And it's like a plane or what?
No, it's an air tram. So Roosevelt Island is next to Manhattan, and there's a subway that goes, the F train goes there, but there's also this like, I always called it an air gondola, and people made fun of me because they're like, a gondola is, you know, and I'm like, that's why I said air gondola, but I'm going to use it again. It's an air gondola.
So is it like suspended with wires or?
Yeah, it's suspended with wires.
Oh.
I think I have seen those. So I've seen those like, are they the same kind of thing that kind of goes uphill too?
Yeah.
It's like a tram that goes uphill.
Like a ski lift type thing.
Yeah. They have those in at Niagara Falls where you get in at the bottom or at the top and it just kind of is in the air, but it lifts you up the hill basically. But it's like a tram. It's kind of like you're in a car.
Yeah, you're enclosed. You're not like exposed. You're definitely inside. But you know, if you want to go up there, I think it's a good date place, like for sunset, and it's only $2.75. So I definitely don't recommend paying the crazy tourist prices, and don't let them sucker you into all those weird passes or anything. Just you know, if you want to see the Statue of Liberty for free, take the Staten Island ferry, and if you want a good view from the air of Manhattan, take the Roosevelt Island. I'm going to say it again, air gondola.
Air gondola.
So it is like a gondola. Okay, I just looked it up. Yeah, it does look like a gondola. That's what I would call it at least.
Thank
so
you.
Is it generally packed?
No, it's usually not. It's usually only for the people who use it or people who live on Roosevelt Island. So it's not a touristy thing at all.
That's a great idea.
Until this podcast comes out.
Right. It says no dogs allowed, so if you are traveling with your pet, don't take him.
Oh, no puppies.
No puppies.
No puppies.
This thing looks cool, man. This is a good tip. I like this.
A picture.
See? It looks like a big giant.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking
ski
of.
gondola or something.
They have that at.
That's cool. I like that.
Cool. I love that.
Yeah, I gotta rep New York.
You got any other good tips for New York?
I don't know if they still do that, if it still does this, but it used to. If you stay on the 6 train until the end and you don't get off, it will keep going, and as it turns around, it goes through an old abandoned subway station. But you gotta just stay on the 6 train downtown, not uptown. So the 6 train downtown.
Downtown.
Yeah. Oh, and Bryant Park has the best public restrooms in New York City, and that is important because most of them you have to pay to use the bathroom.
Bryant Park,
and it's really clean. There's someone, and it gets me so excited because there's literally no free public bathrooms in New York City.
That's a good tip too. All right, we're writing all this stuff down. Like,
I'm always looking for good bathrooms.
You're always looking for what?
Even here, I'm always looking for good bathrooms.
Oh,
like on the road.
Yeah, didn't you tell me someplace has a good restroom? Didn't I tell you I went somewhere and you're like, oh, they have good bathrooms there? And I'm like, what?
So I used to drive for my old job around the city, well, basically everywhere. And so then you have to go to the bathroom everywhere. And a lot of places here now, you have to buy something at the restaurant in order to go.
Exactly. You got to basically pay to use the bathroom.
Yeah.
I remember one lady was like, here, take this cup. I was like, I have to go now. I don't want to take my cup into the bathroom. And it was an ordeal. But Get-Go gas stations have like the cleanest bathrooms here in Indy, if you're in Indy anyways. But
good to know.
Yeah. So
we got tips all over the place.
We got bathroom tips.
All right.
That's awesome.
Tips on tips.
So if people want to learn more about you, where do they find you? How do they find your blog? All that good stuff. I know we talked about it earlier, but we'll go over it again.
Sure. Well, my blog is medium.com/ ampersand or @ Lisa Martens, Martens. If you get confused how to spell it, it's exactly the same as Doc Martens. It's the same as the shoe, but I don't think we're related, unfortunately.
Better work on that.
Work on getting related.
Right?
It could happen. Just saying.
And yeah, I mean, I'm always open to emails. If you read a story of mine, or you want more New York tips, it's Lisa Snetram, which is my last name backwards. I know it's confusing, but Lisa Martens was already taken. So Lisa SNETRAM @gmail.com.
Oh,
Okay.
That's a smart way to do it. I like
No,
it.
it's not. Nobody can remember it.
No? I would have been like Martins 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
I actually copied that idea from a relative. She did it first, so I can't claim the SNETRAM as mine. The SNETRAM was copied.
All right. Hey, thank you for coming on.
Yes,
We really
thank
appreciate
you.
it. We had a good time.
Oh, thank you for having me.
And we'll have you on again.
Don't edit it to make it sound like I'm saying crazy things, like that episode of The Simpsons where like they edit it to make Homer seem like he's crazy.
Oh, yeah. I'm not that talented.
I would say I don't know if,
Okay.
if Jason's that talented yet. One day.
It's enough work just to try to make it sound fine without like coughs and stuff like that in it. And
Let's say the mics are working, so we are in good order.
we have enough problems, with the technology, with mics and the recording system and everything. Yeah. So as long as everything's playing together and we get a remotely clean show, I'm a happy camper.
Yes. All right.
All right, girl. We'll catch you later. And we want to hear about where you going? What was it?
Egypt?
Egypt. That's what it was.
Yep.
Yeah. So we want to hear about Egypt later.
For sure.
Nice. I'll be going hopefully in July.
Perfect.
Sounds great.
We'll get back with you after that and we'll hear all about it.
Nice.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you
Thank
so much
you.
for having me on.
All right, everybody. That was Lisa Martens, spelled Martens, not INS. And go check out her blog. She's a really cool chick. We enjoyed talking with her today, and we'll catch up with her later and hear a little bit about Egypt. So if you could, again, always go out and please leave us reviews and tell your friends about us. And, that's how we grow. And if you are interested in coming on the show, send us an email, nomadictravelerpodcast@gmail.com, and tell us about show ideas and or tell us about your travel experience. And if you're cool, we might put you on the show. That's all I got for this week. We'll see you next week.